Hi, today is January 16th, 2023. Here are my poems for the day. The first one is poem number 94 for the year. Happy Birthday. I was 7 years old for most of 1968. It was a fucked up year. They elected Nixon, and before that they shot Bobby Kennedy, and before that they shot Martin Luther King. I don't remember if my father cried, but he had marched on Washington with King in 1963, so King's death probably tore him apart. I was very upset as well, but too young to grasp the horrible implications. I also remember when there wasn't a time that we set aside to honor King, and how Stevie Wonder and countless others lobbied hard. Stevie even had that song that people, including me, were singing long before this holiday was recognized. Let it out. Don't hold it in. Sing it loud as you can. Happy birthday. Poem number 95, The Shift. Sometimes the shift is so abrupt that I want to make a note of it. The next three poems were all written before the last one. They were the first three poems that occurred to me this morning before I remembered what day it was. Once I remembered what day it was, I tried to write something for Martin. And now I'm trying to write this so as to signal the shift from something serious to something really stupid and juvenile. I've been trying to get away from poems about poems, but this one felt necessary. It felt necessary to make note of the shift. Poem number 96, Flying Toilet. One thing that I have never done is, while sitting on the toilet, wished the toilet could fly. Certainly at certain times, I think it would be fun if something magical were to happen, like that time that peach grew so big that James could get inside of it and hang out with a bunch of insects, or that time that a cyclone took Dorothy all the way to Oz. But there are certain kinds of magical things that you can think of that you are very glad have never happened. Like, suppose I was sitting on a toilet and suddenly it started flying and it took me to Oz. Well, that would be awesome, but also embarrassing. Perhaps if I landed in the northern part of Oz, in Gillikin country, near Yoop Castle, I'd appear so small to Mrs. Yoop, the giant Yukuhu who rules Yoop Castle, that she wouldn't see me at first, and I could quickly wipe myself before she noticed that I was on a toilet, because that's the thing about when toilets fly. The toilet paper doesn't fly along. So to be on the safe side when you're sitting on a toilet, you probably ought to take the toilet paper roll off of the holder and hold it in your hand in case of magic. Of course, if you don't believe in magic, then you don't have to bother with that. Poem number 97, Talking Toilet. On the other hand, if one day a toilet magically started to talk, that wouldn't be nearly so problematic. You could have a conversation with the toilet. If the toilet was an interesting enough conversationalist, maybe you would stop having to bring your phone into the bathroom every time you had to take a shit. Or if, like that guy in the William Burroughs routine from Naked Lunch, you taught your asshole how to talk, then your asshole could have a conversation with the toilet, and maybe you could butt in, and say to your asshole, don't talk with your mouth full, except maybe you don't want to tell a joke to your asshole while you are shitting. So a talking toilet may sound like a lot of fun, and it certainly would be magical and probably not as potentially problematic as a flying toilet, but still, some degree of caution and decorum is advisable. Poem number 98, James the First. The first person to take a phone into the toilet for the express purpose of reading was a man named James Stewart. Obviously not the famous actor better known as Jimmy Stewart. Jimmy Stewart died on July 2nd, 1997, almost exactly 10 years before the first iPhone came out on June 29th, 2007. 2 days later, on July 2nd, 2007, James Stewart was just finishing his first cup of coffee while reading an article on the New York Times website about the concert for Diana that had occurred the day before, and he had to take a shit, but he wanted to finish the article, so he took the phone with him to the bathroom. He did this clandestinely, and he felt a little shame about it. Little did he know that over the course of the ensuing 15 years, people the whole world over would bring their phones to the bathroom. Toilet trailblazer James Stewart died in 2018, never knowing that he was actually the first, and the world never knowing that he was actually the first. James the First, an unsung hero that probably no one will ever write a song about. Poem number 99, Lying. It was lying on the ground last time I looked. It probably had been lying there for days. Didn't nobody want to even touch it, let alone pick it up. Truth be told, didn't nobody want to have nothing to do with it, and so they left it there, and everybody just walked on by, and it stayed there, lying on the ground. And if anyone were to ask it what it was doing there lying on the ground, it would have either said that it was planning world domination or waiting on a friend. But in either case, it would have been lying. Poem number 100, last one. Poem number 100, Laying. They were laying on the ground. That is to say that the two of them were laying together on the ground, fucking, and if anyone were to ask them what they were doing there on the ground, they would say that they were laying, which is another way of saying that they were fucking, which would have been obvious. It was obvious that they were fucking, which is another way of saying that they were laying. So if a follow-up question was asked as to why they were laying on the ground, they might have replied that they were fighting for peace or fucking for chastity, but in either instance, they would have been lying. All right, that's all. Thank you very much once again for giving me your time. I really do appreciate it.